Hello, Kidney Warriors! James here from Dadvice TV, your online kidney health coach. And this is Dadvice TV Live, episode 211. Now, tonight we have a guest. It's their very first time being here. Certainly won't be their last. And we are going to talk about finding a kidney donor and a program that can make it so much easier for you, because that is a challenge, finding a donor. Now, if you are new, welcome. Great to have you here. You're going to find the content here at Dadvice TV very positive and very supportive. And if you are new, let me introduce myself. My name is James. I have kidney disease. I was diagnosed stage 5, but I worked closely with my doctors and with renal dietitians and started living healthy. Now, by living healthy, I started to get better and my labs improved enough that I no longer have any symptoms. As a matter of fact, according to my labs, I'm right there on the border of stage 3, stage 4, and I am doing great. Got lots of energy, and it's like I say, I'm kicking kidney disease to the curb. Now, let's jump on into today's topic, finding a living donor. And our guest, let me make sure I got my buttons all right here. We're going to bring on my co-host for the very first time here on Dadvice TV. Please welcome Harvey Mysel. Hey, Harvey, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much, James. I'm really looking forward to this.
Hey, great to have you here. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a 2-time kidney transplant recipient. I'm a PKD patient. For those not familiar, it's polycystic kidney disease. It's where cysts grow on your kidney. It's a genetic condition. As I say, I picked the wrong parents, but cysts grow on your kidney. And over the years, the cysts get larger, your kidney function declines, and about average age of people that need a transplant, 55. That's when I had my first transplant. But I'd known about my condition for 20 years. They told me I had PKD when they wheeled me in for appendectomy, and they started yelling at me, "Why don't you tell us you have PKD?" I had no idea what it was. I'm the first in my family. Some families have most, sometimes all of the family, unfortunately. So I followed it for 20 years. I lived a healthy life. I lived in denial, thinking I'd never need a transplant, but I did. And I was so fortunate that my wife was able to donate to me. This was 2007. But I did a lot of research and learned a lot about organ donation. I visited transplant centers. I visited dialysis clinics. I'm in the Chicago area. I got evaluated at 3 centers. So I learned a lot about the whole process. And what I learned is people don't know much about living donation. And so shortly after my transplant, my wife and I really recovered very, very quickly. I started a nonprofit organization with the primary goal, we're a 501c3, to help people who were in need of a kidney transplant have a successful living kidney transplant experience. I put on these workshops nationally for transplant centers, dialysis clinics, nonprofit organizations, NK National Kidney Foundation affiliates, PKD Foundation, many centers, like I said, all over the U.S. And I've done these in-person workshops helping people. I've helped hundreds through the transplant process. But when COVID hit, realized that's not going to happen anymore. And so I put together this video series called Having Your Donor Find You. And people say, why is it called Having Your Donor Find You? Because that's the way it happens. You get the word out, your donor finds you. The challenge is most people think they need to ask someone to donate. I've spoken to, like I said, hundreds of people, recipients and donors, and I've asked the donors, had the person you donated to ask you to donate? And they invariably say, they didn't ask me. I heard about their situation. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to help them. And same thing with recipients. I've spoken to them. They say, I didn't ask anyone. I was afraid to ask anyone. Getting your
I hear
story
that
out
all
there.
the time. People don't know how to ask.
Yep, and they don't have to. It's all about telling your story. getting your story out there. James will give you a link to the video program. It's free. And you'll hear an analogy I use there. It's much like looking for employment. It has a lot in common. No one wants to look for employment, at least no one I've met, and no one really wants to look for a kidney. And it starts there and it continues. It's all about networking. It's all about getting the word out. It's all about your story. It's all about an elevator speech. And it has so much in common. And most people have looked for employment. So I tell them, use those skills. Use the skills that you develop for that search and put them in front of you for the search for a kidney. And we'll get into some details as to the things that you can do. But that, in a nutshell, is the idea. And the second most important thing about the search is having advocates, having people to help you get the word out. It's incredibly important. I think a large percentage of donors donated to someone not hearing from that person, hearing it from someone else. They may have known that individual, but they didn't know they needed a transplant. So it's all about telling your story and having advocates out there to help share it. That is the key.
Yeah, and you and I, we've talked a bit over the past through email, but yesterday morning you sent out an email about an opportunity, and you have a video, and we're trying to get likes on that video so that you can get more money to do even more to help people find living kidney donors. Can you talk about that for a bit? And I have the link. I've created a short one, Harvey, for you. Go.dadvicetv.com/video will take everyone directly to the video we want them to watch after this, that they can like, so that you get votes and hopefully can get money, additional money, to expand your team to help even more people.
Thank you. So there's a transplant center in Canada. Many transplant centers are using the program. They're using the program. They're the largest one in Canada. They're in Toronto. In fact, I did a workshop for them this morning. This is Kidney Week in Canada. For those of you in Canada, you might be aware of that. So they have a pitch competition where they've invited people to submit an application. And I made the final group of 6 people that they've selected. And so it'll be live on Friday, where the judges will spend 10 minutes with each of the 6 and make a decision as to who the winner is. And one of the factors that they're going to use in terms of selecting the winner is how many likes their video gets. So it's really important for me to get my video liked by more people, because that will influence the judges. And so would be much appreciated if everyone can go to that video after the show, a quick like, and it'll really help me in that pitch competition. So thank you very much in advance for your support there.
Yeah, so I want to make sure everyone knows, when we're done with this video, go to that link right there, go.dadvicetv.com/video, and click like, so that Harvey gets a lot of upvotes for this. Now, why is it a challenge finding a living donor?
I would say there's 2 things. One is getting the word out, sharing it so people know about your situation. And the second is education. People are not knowledgeable about living donation. They are, the questions they ask are kind of crazy. Some people are back in the 80s. They think you need a perfect match, that only a twin can donate to you. And so it's a challenge. And the reason there isn't more living donor education is that there isn't an organization with that task. Okay? People know about deceased donation because many organizations spend hundreds of millions of dollars educating the public, from UNOS, which is a quasi-governmental organization, to just about every DMV that talks about registering when you get your license. So, and they've done some great work there. The challenge is there isn't anyone out there that's promoting or educating the public about living donation. So that is the big challenge. My wife donated to me, and people have said, "What a miracle you were a match." Well, quote, she wasn't a match. Okay, you don't need to be that match anymore. The drugs that I take really overcome that matching issues that were there many years ago. Now there are compatibility, factors. So
Hmm.
that everyone can't donate to every individual. But what has happened over the years for people that aren't compatible is something called paired exchanges. In fact, if it wasn't for paired exchanges, okay, and I'll explain what it is simply, but if it wasn't for paired exchanges, the number of living donor transplants would be at the same level we were at 20 years ago. So it really hasn't changed much other than for paired exchanges. So a paired exchange is, let's say James and I both need a kidney transplant, and we both have someone that wants to donate to us, but they're not compatible for some reason. But they find out, hey, James' donor can donate to me, and my donor can donate to James. That's a simple two-way paired exchange. They've done a 50-way paired exchange with many
Whoa.
hospitals, yeah, over a couple of months. So it really has changed the whole dynamic of living donation, and so people need to be aware of that, that you don't need to be that match for the individual. That paired exchanges really has significantly changed the world.
That is awesome. I didn't even know that. Now, what is it that your program does to make it easier for someone to find a living donor or to have the living donor find them?
That's it. I like that latter part. So it's 9 videos. Each of the videos is under 3 minutes. It's really quick because there's not a lot you need to know about each subject. So there's one video on telling your story. There's another video on advocates. There's another video about email. I talk a lot about email. There's something in there called Tuesdays with. Let's say if I was in need of a transplant, it would be Tuesdays with Harvey. And every Tuesday, I get an email out to everybody. And it's important to keep, speaking of email, keep people on top of what is happening with you. Most people don't respond the first time they hear about something. Let it be buying, soda or donating a kidney. Okay? Many people, they take time. They need time. So you need to educate them and keep your name in front of them. And at the bottom of every email, you say, please share this email with people. I hear from some people, they say, I sent an email out a couple of months ago. Well, it's just not enough. You need to send it more. And the same thing's a video on social media. I posted a couple of weeks ago. Well, you need to post more often, and you need to get people to share that posting. So there's information about that. There's information about compatibility, and there's a short video on paired exchanges. But the first 3 or 4 videos are really the crux of the things that you need to do. And people, have said to me, gee, it sounds like a full-time job. Well, it could be a full-time job. And that's when I go back to when you were looking for employment.
Mm-hmm.
It was that important for you.
Yeah.
You needed to make it your full-time job. What's more important than saving your life? Okay. So you need to do these things regularly and get the word out in any way that you can. People use yard signs. People use signs in their car, billboard signs, T-shirts. There's no shortage of what your creativity could be. And the program provides you with many, many different ideas as to what you can do to have your donor find you, because that's the way it happens.
Yep. And about how many can you share of these have you helped successfully find a donor or a donor find them?
Yeah, I have helped, believe it or not, 70 donors. Okay, it's one of the most pleasant surprises of my life. I never expected to be helping donors, both directed and what they call non-directed. Because they have the same challenge that people in need have when they go to the center. The center is so busy that they just can't get their questions answered. So that's been one of the great thrills of my life. I have over 300 people that have sent me thank you notes that I've helped. But one of the things that I understand is my programs are not meant for me to be in touch with people. I'm in touch with people all the time. But my goal from the very beginning, the workshop and even these videos, is really to teach you how to fish. Okay? You need to do it. Okay? I can be helpful in answering some of your questions, but you need to do the work that's there. So a lot of people, I'll send an email out to somebody, hey, Joe, haven't heard from you for, some months. How are you doing? And he writes back, oh, got a transplant. Sorry, I didn't tell you. Okay. And, people get on with their lives. Okay. James and I are unusual individuals. Okay. We have stayed in this. We have stayed in this in a way that most people don't. They get their transplant and they go on with their life. And that's not criticism, okay? It takes a lot to do what we are doing, and we are committed to it. It's not for everybody. So I understand that many people don't get back to me that I've helped. In this short time, over 850 people have signed up for having your donor find you. And the Google and Facebook algorithms are starting to find it now. Because there are people searching, 90,000 people on the transplant waiting list, 500,000 people on kidney dialysis, and as James, knows, over 1 million people are in stage 4 and 5 kidney failure, and 37 million Americans are at some stage what they call CKD, chronic kidney disease. So it is a huge problem in America, and unfortunately, there's no shortage of individuals that are reaching that level of kidney failure.
That is absolutely amazing, the work that you're doing. Now, 2 questions. How much does it cost someone to participate in this program? And if someone out there is like, hey, I want to get involved with this, I need this help, I want to get on with my life with a new kidney, how do they learn more, or how do they get in touch with you?
Well, they can get in touch with me through the program. The program is called Having Your Donor Find You, or Having Your Kidney Donor Find You.org is the URL. And, you can get my email there, or if you wanted to email me directly, it's Harvey at the organization. It's called the Living Kidney Donors Network, and it's just Harvey at the initials LKDN.org. But I, was on the phone with someone right before we got on the phone on this call today. So I'm constantly speaking to people, but I'm hoping that this program, like I said, will teach you how to fish. You'll be able to do it. Here's the way you can go about it, and there's no charge for the program. It is free. It's also in Spanish, okay? And we also have it subtitled in English. For transplant centers and other organizations, they can play it in waiting rooms, or it's 30 minutes when you string all of the videos together, or they can play it in a conference room for patients. And so that's a great opportunity for organizations also to use it that way.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. And for everyone who is looking for the links, they are in the description of the video. I will add Harvey's email address after the broadcast is done. Now, there's another thing you're doing called Kidney Transplant Thursdays. We have a lot of content creators. We have nephrologists who are in our audience. We have renal dietitians. What is this Kidney Transplant Thursday, and how could they be part of it?
So, as I said earlier, there isn't an organization that's educating the public about living donation. And I've brainstormed with people for years trying to come up with a way that we can get the community together that will do this. And I just recently came up with just a simple idea. And the simple idea is that the second Thursday of every month, that's the Kidney Transplant Thursday, that an organization and individuals should post something about living donation and something about their organization. So they are doing something to educate the public about living donation and then getting some airtime for their organization. Not my organization, not anything I'm doing. They should post that the second Thursday of every month. And the only thing I'm asking them to do is to put it on our Facebook page. And the reason why they should put it there, because other people go to that page who are in need of a transplant or just want to post something. And if they post something that's interesting, it's going to be shared by other people. So that is the goal, is to have organizations and individuals do this. And for people who are in need of a kidney transplant, they should join in by putting some information out there about living donation and then telling their story. So they will get additional exposure about their situation. And the same thing will go with for them. If they post something that has some interesting information and others want to share it, they will continually get more exposure for their situation. So I said earlier that I'm develop programs that teach people how to fish. For the first time, I'll be fishing with them. I'm going to give them an outlet so they can get more exposure about their situation. So it's twofold: educate the public and give individuals in need an opportunity to have more people hear about where they're at. So I'm hoping that the first Kidney Transplant Tuesday is going to be October 14th. This is a brand new initiative. And I've already gotten many transplant centers and nonprofit organizations, dialysis companies, and I don't know if you're familiar with Donate Life America. They are interested, and they will start posting. More importantly, reach out to their network, which is quite large. So that is the idea of Kidney Transplant Thursdays: educate the public, first of all, and give individuals additional exposure about their situation.
That is awesome. I will definitely make sure participate. I will log in, comment, thumbs up the thing so that it helps the Facebook logarithm so that more people will find it easier. That is absolutely amazing. Now, is there anything? So you, oops, hold on. I'm manually getting rid of the echo on this end. So you mentioned you have had 2 transplants. The first one was from your wife. How did it come about to the second one, and who was it from?
So a year and a half after my transplant, I developed this virus. It's called the BK virus. As is the case with most viruses, there isn't a cure for it. And so the only thing that they're able to do is lower my immunosuppressant drugs to fight off the virus, at which time, you go into a little bit of rejection. So they increase your drugs. And we did this for 2.5 years. So I started at the end of year 4 of my first transplant. I was told that you're going to need a transplant soon. Now, most people have this BK virus. Over 90% of the public has it, but your immune system fights it off. So they don't have any treatment for it. So one day my nephrologist says, Harv, it's time. You need to start you're looking for a living donor. And I was almost 5 years into doing this now. So I needed to take my own advice. It's much easier to tell people what to do. But I did. I put on my Facebook page. At that time, I had 12,000 followers, and I told them I'm taking time off right now. I didn't tell them why, but that I was taking time off. And I started my campaign. One day I was on Facebook, and a woman posted an article about organ donation. She lives out in Seattle. And I saw the posting, and I contacted her, and I asked her, why she posted it. She just said, I thought it was an interesting article, nothing else, not connected to the community. This was all via Messenger. I never even spoke to her. So I gave her my story, told her I'm in need of another transplant. I have a nonprofit organization. I help people. And like I've told many other people, I thought that was the end of that story. But Stephen, who lives outside of Detroit, saw the same posting. And he reached out to her and said, I've been thinking of donating for a long time now. I saw your article. Could you be of help? And she said, no, I really can't be of help, but why don't you reach out to this organization? By the way, the founder of the organization needs another transplant. Very long story. Stephen, who's, like I said, lives outside of Detroit. I'm in Chicago. This woman's in Seattle, and you might be thinking that that's a miracle, okay? 20 years ago, yeah, a miracle. Today, we're electronic neighbors, okay? We're probably in touch with each other more than I am my physical neighbors. So that's really the way it happens. Stephen and I were involved in a three-way paired exchange. He was not compatible with me. So the example I used earlier of two-way, we were involved in a three-way paired exchange, and it has totally changed our lives. That was in 2012, and so it's been a good 9 years with this second transplant. I hope it goes much further. But it's all about sharing your story and having others do it too.
Yeah, that is absolutely amazing. And how the internet just breaks down the distance, those barriers that in the past would have made it very difficult, if not impossible, to have ran into this person, or even for them to read an article to get them to think, you know what? I want to be a donor. I want to give someone the gift of life, the greatest gift I can imagine that you can give someone. That is just absolutely amazing.
There are good people out there, and I tell in my workshops, and you'll hear it on the video series, if you're in need of a transplant, I firmly believe your donor is out there. There are good people in the world. Okay, we don't hear enough of those good stories, but there are good people in the world that want to help, but they can't do that unless they know about your situation. That's the challenge for you to overcome.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. And can you talk a little bit about the power of social media and helping people find a living donor? And the story you just told was an example of that, but can you talk more about it?
Sure. So there's Google has a service. It's called Google Alerts, and you put in keywords. So I put in keywords like living donation, kidney transplant, polycystic kidney disease, and I get articles every day. And so when people hear my story, they think it's a miracle. But these miracles are happening every day. Social media really has changed the landscape of many, from many different areas, and this is one of those areas. Now, 5 or even 10 years ago, transplant centers weren't happy if you met someone online, but they've really changed their ways and understand, what is happening right now. So that's no longer a real issue, pursuing it. But, pursuing, every platform that you can to reach as many people as possible. I'll go back to the analogy about looking for employment. It is the same way. And even with employment, entry-level positions, yeah, they're taken care of online. But any, middle management or middle-level position, certainly any senior position at an organization, it's who you know. You get a referral from somebody. Okay, that's the way those positions are filled, and that's the way you're going to have your donor find you, in the same way, getting that word out. And social media is the place to be in terms of sharing it. But you've got to share it often. You've got to work at it, like I said.
Yeah, and some of the donors that I have interviewed over the last few years have been people who just randomly saw a story online. Maybe a friend of theirs shared someone else's story. Somehow they saw a story about someone needing a kidney, and they decided, you know what? I've got 2 of them. I'm healthy. I want to be a kidney donor. I want to help somebody. And that's what led them to it. It was social media, and they didn't even really, the person didn't ask. Just like you were talking about, someone saw the story and decided, I want to donate.
Yeah, and that is, obviously very common. There's also another type of donor, they call them non-directed donors. So you just described pretty much how these individuals, they read about people donating, they hear about stories, and they're interested in donating, but they don't know anyone.
Mhm.
So they go into a transplant center and they say, I'm interested in donating, I don't know anyone. 15 years ago, they would say to this person, see the psychiatrist on the way out. We don't want to talk to you, okay? But not anymore. They understand now that there are these good people that want to help. And so these non-directed donors, they get a lot of attention, which is great, but it's only about 4% of the
Wow.
total living donors that are out there. Only 4% of them. But if they get involved in one of these paired exchanges, they can save the lives of 3 people, 5 people, 10 people. This 50-person one that I described earlier, it was started by a non-directed donor. And so they really are very, very powerful in terms of being able to save lives. But for people in need of a transplant, 96% of people donate to someone they know or heard about their situation from someone else. So that is the key, okay? If you're in need, you're not likely going to be getting a kidney from a non-directed donor. Happens, but it's a very small percentage. And they're wonderful people, just absolutely wonderful individuals. And they usually say, I wish I had another one so I can give. They are amazing individuals.
Yep. Now, when do you recommend that someone start working on helping or trying to find a living donor?
Yeah, it's never too early. So the process of getting on the transplant waiting list doesn't happen until your kidney function, what they call your GFR, gets to 20. Okay. So when it gets to 20, that's when technically you can get on the waiting list. And so you have to be on the waiting list before someone can be evaluated. Okay. So if your GFR is 22, 25, 30, and you're speaking to your nephrologist and they say, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, you might be at 20 and need a transplant. That's the time to start talking to people and telling them about your situation and educating them about living donation. So when you get to 20 and you're now on the waiting list, you have some people that you can talk to. Uh, Unfortunately, many people wait until their kidney function declines much further. And most people, not everyone, but most people, when your GFR gets to around 10, you need to be on dialysis. And you want to avoid dialysis if you can, or be on it as short a time as possible. For example, your life expectancy, if you're 50 plus years old, your life expectancy on dialysis is shorter than the deceased donor waiting list. And that's why so
Mm.
many people are dying while on dialysis because there just aren't enough deceased donor organs that they're waiting for. So it's never too early, really, to start educating people about your situation.
And what are the benefits of a living donor compared to waiting for a deceased donor?
Yeah, well, one is the obvious one. I just said you don't have to wait. You can avoid being on dialysis or shorten the time you're on dialysis. But the most significant benefit of a kidney from a living donor is they last on average twice as long as one from a deceased donor. And that really is significant. And those numbers are starting to go even wider ranges. So it really is a significant amount of time. A deceased donor kidney lasts somewhere around 8 years, and now a kidney from a living donor somewhere around 17 years. So it
Wow.
really is quite significant in terms of individuals, and one of the challenges you need to overcome. That's there. And the older you are, the more significant it is.
Mhm.
So in 2014, they changed the rules for a deceased donor kidney. And before that, if you were on the waiting list, and let's say you were 70 years old and a kidney from a 24-year-old became available,
Mhm.
you would get that kidney. And so they changed the rules where they want more younger people to get younger kidneys. Okay. And what has happened is people over the age of 55 are getting fewer deceased donor transplants. People younger than age 35 are getting more deceased donor transplants. They are pegging younger people to get these better organs. There are other factors too, but generally speaking, younger people are getting more of those organs. So it's really, really important the older you are to be pursuing a kidney from a living donor.
Now, is there an age limit for living donors as far as me receiving it and those that are donating?
Yeah, you might see in some transplant centers, they'll put down they have an age either for the recipient or the donor of 65 or something like that. But it's not the age of the individual, it's their health. Okay, so people in their 70s, in fact, last year, a woman that was 82 years old donated a kidney. So
Oh,
it's really not, yeah, it is amazing. It's not your age, it's your health.
mhm.
And that's the key. There are unfortunately many 25-year-olds that can't donate a kidney. They're not healthy enough because they're not caring for themselves. So it really isn't age. Um, it is the health of the individual. But with these paired exchanges, they really bring more into play. So, for example, let's say someone is 70 years old and they have someone that wants to donate, and that person is young, 23 years old. Okay, um, they might get into a paired exchange, or the opposite happens. You know, you have a 25-year-old and you have a donor that's 50. You may get involved in a paired exchange and get a better age or size-wise. You know, let's say you're someone that weighs 175 pounds and your donor is soaking wet at 100 pounds.
Mhm.
That's probably not the best of fits. So even though you have a donor, they may be compatible. You can get involved in a paired exchange. So there are many factors with age that brings in these paired exchanges, which are really saving many, many lives.
All right, I have a couple questions here from Jane and Bill. They are regulars here on Dadvice TV. Their first question is, they know you can't buy or pay for a kidney, but when you're looking for a living donor, can you pay for their expenses or lost income or something like that to make it more of an incentive for them to donate?
Sure. So, as you said, it's illegal to pay someone to be a donor, but it's perfectly legal to pay for any and all expenses that someone has to donate. Could be time off from work, could be travel, it could be meals. For some people that live alone, they may need to bring someone into the house to care for them for a few days. That can be, they can get reimbursed for that also. So any expenses, and there are many people who do a fundraising event, so they can reimburse the donor for their expenses, and you can have a fundraising event for the recipient also, because there may be drugs that they can't afford or don't have insurance that covers it as much. So it can work for both sides. But yeah, you can pay for any expenses that the donor does incur.
Awesome. And Jane and Bill also asked, are younger donor recipients a higher priority on living kidney wait list than older people?
So a younger person who's in need of a kidney transplant under the age of 35 does get a priority. Okay, that was built in, like I said, in 2014. So what they do there is they what they do is they quantify all organs, okay, deceased donor organs, in terms of giving them a number. And so the younger people will get the best 20% of those kidneys, okay? And that's one of the factors that comes into play for a younger individual. So sometimes a younger individual, gets a priority for a deceased donor organ.
Awesome. All right, it's good to know. Awesome if you're a younger person because you're going to get a kidney hopefully sooner and you got a lot of life ahead of you. Not awesome if you're the older person waiting a little bit longer.
Yeah, that's the challenge. And, and the younger person has to make a decision. They're 30 years old. They get a kidney from a deceased donor. They know that's not going to last them a lifetime. Okay, not likely, I should say, going to last them a lifetime. So you've got to take, certain factors that will affect you in those situations for individuals.
Yeah. Now, as we're getting towards the end of our conversation here, is there anything you would like to, that we haven't mentioned that you'd like to mention to people or tell them about?
No, I think we've covered a fair amount. I really welcome, your support either for liking that video or if you're interested in Kidney Transplant Thursdays, the more the merrier. We want people to get the word out. And certainly if you're in need of a kidney transplant, I encourage you to watch those videos. And if you're out there and if you're thinking of being a donor, look into it, okay? Get more information about it. Contact a transplant center, or if you have questions, you can contact me, and I'd be glad to answer them for you. It is a difficult decision for people, and they should be treated that way, and not always done so at transplant centers because they're very busy. If you take a look at the numbers, every year 40,000 new people go on the kidney transplant waiting list. Ooh. So that's 40,000 people that need to be evaluated at transplant centers. And if that's 40,000 people, many of them have donors that need to get evaluated. So they are really swamped in terms of the work that they're doing. And I get, kind of feedback from people all the time that it's taking too long, and I understand the problem, but you need to be a squeaky wheel during that process, and you need to stay on top of it and let the centers know that you are on top of it from the very start, that you want to pursue this.
Yeah, awesome. And this has been so informative. Every time I talk to someone, I think I've learned everything I need to know about kidney disease and all the process. But holy cow, I have learned so much tonight. Just in our 45 minutes of us sitting here having a conversation. And the work that you do is so amazing, helping people to find a living donor or helping a living donor find them. A huge thanks for everything that you do. And I want to, again, encourage everyone, click on this link or go to this link, go to dadvicetv.com/video and like the video there so that there's the opportunity to expand helping find living donors and helping more people find a kidney.
That would be great. Really appreciate that. Any help you can provide would be wonderful. Those likes are important.
Yep. All right, we're going to get you a bunch of them, Harvey. All right, everyone. That is going to wrap up our show for tonight. What a great one. Share this video. Let's get the word out. Let's help Harvey by watching his video, giving it some likes, and I will be back again tomorrow night with Mr. Kidney, who is here in the audience. Look, as Alice, who's a regular, said, you are an amazing soul, Harvey.
Well, thank you. Thanks, James.
All right, everybody. I will see you tomorrow night, 7 p.m. right here. Have a great evening, everyone. Bye.